Now, even at this point, um, if I wanted to define a few more things, even before I get to color, I can define some of the edges of what I see in the tree here. I've got more of the tree there than I show in the photo here, but I can define some of these edges and make it more naturalistic. I guess you could call this more some of the details, and I'm not even getting yet to the color yet, because this will inform me. I can do a lot. This is what I'm trying to show you guys. There's a lot you can do while you're in this underpainting time. So now this shape that started out as just a big old broad shape, remember? Because that's what we want. We're painting shapes. Now I can make it a little more tree-like. Back here I can put a little bit of, since I've got that dark on my brush, I can push some dark down here because there's some dark underneath those trees back there. Now I can come back and break into this a little bit. Real subtle. I'm looking at my reference. Kind of give it a you can see now how it starts to get more of a feel of the tree. Look at that. You don't have to show a whole lot. Your eye and your brain are very smart. People are very smart. It's like a good movie, remember? You don't have to tell the whole story. You can just show a little bit, and that really starts to feel like a tree. See how realistic it starts to show. And I could break this dark into here to, to show the edge of this tree right here. And I haven't even gone into showing all these little blossoms. I'm not thinking about blossoms. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, these little light accents I did, could be considered some of those blossoms. But this is my focal point, so I'm spending a little bit of time here. I'm going to darken this just a little bit because the shadows are always a little darker next to the object. A little bit of an accent down there. And even this pine tree is going to have some accent work down there as well. Nice accents. And let's put some over here. Remember I told you I'd put this tree back in. Goes right over top of that nice lighter green tree there. And then there's a little bit of a cast shadow there as well. So these are all little. Now I'm thinking it more in terms of smaller shapes. Sometimes I can pull the light right in front. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll pull that light right in front of the cast shadow. It'll show that landform, you see. And then I can blend that there. You see how that feels like the light is now striking that right there. It's nice. A little bit of it over here. I don't want to make it exactly the same over here. This is where my focal point is here. And then I want to get, I'm going to get myself a little bit of a liner brush so I can show you how I like to do some of those tree branches. And that I don't want to show a lot either. I mean, a lot of these, when you start thinking of trees, a lot of these trees, some of these branches, some of them are covered up by the the blossoms and things, and sometimes they start to appear here like this. So, and I've got a nice kind of a long liner brush. This is number 4 rosemary. I like these rosemary brushes. You have to kind of send away for them, but they're really nice. And sorry, I'm getting a little more paint out on my. So see this. There's so much you can do with just one color, many values. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of play around. I had to think in terms of tree. We have a chapter coming up about branches and trees. They're kind of little cricky things like this. I get more paint on here. Sometimes you see it's part of the trunk coming up here, then it's kind of hit, and it's not. Maybe there's a nice limb down here. This is going to be my focus tree right here. It's going to be more of the focal point. So I'm going to make this one just a little darker. I'm going to bring a little more attention to this one. See, and then I want to be kind of judicious with some of these branches, and maybe I can even scrape out some of these. See some of these lighter things like this. So these are the kinds of things you can still do with, and it starts to give us a sense of more realism. But you see, I don't do a whole lot back here. You see, see how the focus is coming up here. I like to work a little more in my focus area and kind of leave this back here as the background. That's the secondary. I'm saying look here, don't look here as much, right? So that's what, remember I said that's what David LaFell says. Every time you touch the brush to the canvas, you're going to say one of two things. Whether you like it or not, you're going to say, look here, don't look here. And you want to be a little more conscientious of where you're saying look here or don't look here. See, now I can shape this tree a little bit by painting the color of the pine tree. And I'm looking at my photo reference. So this is, see how I'm shaping the edge. Can you see how much you can get these looking like trees? A little bit of a tree sky hole. It's really a tree hole because there's trees behind it. And we can shape those. And there's some darker passages back here in this other tree. I want that to come out a little bit more. Those are kind of too much the same, right? Like this. Now, I don't really see, I might want to, and also, I'm thinking a couple of different things going on here. I'd lighten this up just a little bit back here, you see, because this is where my focal point is, and you see how I've lightened this just a little bit, where really, remember, the contrast is where you're going to start, your eye's going to go, and I want more contrast here, and I don't want the same contrast back here. Even though in the photograph, remember the photographs lie. Remember the photographs lie. So back here, that almost looks like the same contrast I have here, but we know that that's what we're talking about is the atmosphere perspective. That contrast is going to be less here and more here. We got to remember that, especially working from photographs, is that we got to keep the contrast less back here, more here, wherever your focus is, your focal point. See, and I can just play with this. I mean, I could do this all day, but it'd be a time when I don't want to do too much. Okay, So that gives you an idea that how you can continually go in. And I feel like I want to probably play with this just a little bit. But I like some of those highlights on that tree. But you can see now how I'm really focusing in on this area here. This is a secondary focal point, and then we got the mountains back here, and even this is a little bit too. I just touch that. And again, there's the reference. Okay. Very good.